Okay, so are we live? I think we are live. Let's
So,
see here. Alrighty, well, yep, we are live. I
yep.
was looking at my little window on YouTube, but we're live. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Chris, I'm so excited that you're here with me as well.
Me too.
Yes, and yeah, so welcome everybody. This is the pilot for our book Witch Talk podcast. We have been wanting to do this for some time now. Like Chris and I have been talking about this for what, for like almost a year.
Probably. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so here we are, and so we're gonna keep this limited to like an hour today, just to kind of get a feel for it, just kind of see how it goes. I mean, it's been some time since last time I streamed here on my channel, but so let's get started. We're gonna start with just like little introductions. So I'm gonna have my friend Carissa, better known as Corey, just introduce herself and talk a little bit about you know just the things she likes and things like that. So, Carissa, take it away. I'm going to put you full screen.
Ooh, okay. I'm Carissa, aka Corissa the Kitchen Witch, aka Corey. Um, as far as things that I'm into, I'm a big reader, which is probably obvious from the name of our podcast. Obviously, things like Harry Potter, the SJM universe, all that stuff. Um, into, the witchy things in life, crystals, candles, tarot, baths. Yeah, I'm a big dog lover. Professionally, I'm a therapist and a behavior analyst. And I have currently 4 dogs at my house, 3 of which are mine. One is my sister-in-law's that we are dog sitting sort of long term while she and her husband travel. I live in New Jersey. Yeah, that's me.
All right, let's put us back together here.
Yes.
All right, here we go. That was an awesome introduction. So, again, for you guys that didn't know Carissa, now you know her. And I'm assuming if you're here, you probably already know me. But
True.
I guess I'll make myself, full screen too, so you can
Yeah.
also see me. So, of course, if you've been here, you know that my name is Melissa, better known as Mel. I feel like most people know me as Mel at this point. I'm a huge nerd, which I'm sure you probably already knew. And then if not, like my background is like a dead giveaway that I am a big nerd. And then, of course, I love, witchy things too, like Carissa said. I'm huge into like crystals and I love, tarot and oracle and all that good stuff. I'm also a big nerd, so I love Disney and Harry Potter, like I said earlier. I'm a Ravenclaw, just like Carissa. And yeah, so that's really me in a nutshell. I like collecting, as you can also tell. I'm a big pin collector and pin trader, mainly pin collector. I haven't really traded as much lately. I picked up reading earlier this year, so I've really been into like the romantasy books. I became this huge Akatar fan, which we're going to talk about that later. Um, and yeah, and just like Carissa, I live here in New Jersey, so yeah, so that makes it really convenient for us to like get together, which actually brings us to like our next point, which is basically how we met.
Yes. Well, in maybe November of 2022, I
Yeah,
started following Mel on Instagram and
yeah.
on YouTube. And in December of 2022, I went to Peddler's Village for the day with my mom and my uncle, and being the Ravenclaw Harry Potter nerd that I am, we went to the Harry Potter store, of course, and I posted pictures. And Mel commented and was like, "Oh my God, you're at the Harry Potter store. That's like an hour and a half from me." So then I DM'd Mel and was like, "Where do you live?" And she
Right,
wound up
like
living not too far from me. And we had started talking a lot and like sending voice messages. And we just had so much in common, so many common interests and similar personalities. And we made plans to get together. And we did in this little cute town, Smithville, New Jersey.
yeah, that's
And our
right.
husbands met and they got along great. And since then, we've just done a lot of like fun get togethers, really with the four of us, whether
Mhm.
we do like game nights or double dates or whatever. And then usually it's Mel and I talking all night about books and witchy stuff, and then Dirk and Chris talking about whatever they talk about.
Right.
And it was actually my husband who said, "You guys should start a podcast because you guys could talk about this stuff forever." And Mel was like, "Let's do it."
Yeah, because I mean, like, I already do YouTube and, I have my Instagram, which is, public. So,
Yeah.
like, which that way, we can connect with people, like be connected. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's do it. I mean, I already like talking about that kind of stuff. I feel like my channel, Geeking Out with MellyMel, it was named that because, it just really like kind of like a window into my brain. So all the things that I like are there. And I love that you and I like clicked so well. We have so much in common and we can talk about
Yeah.
all those things. And I think Chris had a great idea by suggesting we did a podcast. And I used to stream like I said a while back. So I enjoyed it. So it's nice to kind of get back to that and then just have us
Yeah.
talk because we like guys, what you don't know is that Chris and I have these conversations just like this is when we talk. Like it's just like we talk about all the things that we want to share with you guys. So we're very excited
Yeah.
about that. And we have some plans for the podcast. Carissa, do you want to start with that? Just kind of what we have planned, what we should be basically discussing in the channel. You want to start talking about
Yeah.
that?
So basically, kind of what we were just talking about, a lot of our shared interests. So the books that we're reading or have read, um, Harry Potter, of course, witchy things, uh, I guess in a way like nerdy things. Like we're both Marvel girls. We love things like that. So that's going to be the vibe, is just those common interests that we share. So again, like what we're reading, the witchy things that we like or we're engaging with,
Yeah,
our Harry Potter obsession,
Ravenclaw.
especially with the new show that's going to be coming out, I think soon. We'll
Yeah,
have to do that for sure.
absolutely. That's another thing that we have to talk about. So yeah, absolutely. So I feel like we want this to be more of like a hangout with you guys so that we can kind of connect
Yeah.
with like-minded people and we can discuss all these things. So again, today being kind of like the pilot, we're just kind of like just having really like a chat and just like a hangout and just like Carissa said, just kind of letting you guys know what the podcast would be about. So yeah, sharing all those things, talking about witchy things, crystals, books, going over some books, reviewing some books, because I mean, we do need to do this book talk, right? This like bookish talk.
Yes.
Um, there's a lot of books that we want to talk about. And then of course, like Chris said, like the Harry Potter things, Disney things, just all the things that bring us joy.
Mhm.
But with that said, Carissa, what are you currently reading?
So currently, I am on book 3 of the Crescent City series. I'm about halfway through. And this will be a question for people that are listening. I was talking with Mel earlier
Yes.
about this, is how much do you want us to talk about the books and series that we've read or are reading? Like, should we stay spoiler free? That'll kind of limit what we can talk about. Should we just go for it? Give us your feedback and thoughts on that, because I know Mel and I are dying to discuss some of the series that we've already read.
Yes.
So,
So
yeah.
yeah, if you're currently watching and you're a book reader, mainly a romantasy reader, which is what we've been like focusing on, like romantic, like fantasy books, dark romances and things like that. If
Mhm.
you're currently watching like now or the replay or even later on when this makes it to Spotify, which is the goal to bring this to Spotify,
Mhm.
let us know. I'm actually going to throw our links in the chat soon so that you can find us on Instagram as well. And if you want to send us like a DM or even comment on this video later, let us know what you think. But yeah, we want to know if you want us to go spoiler free with the books or just go full on spoiler so we can have just like a crazy or not crazy but like a real like deep conversation about the
Yeah.
books. Um so I haven't started reading Crescent City just yet. So that is one of like the many books in the SJM universe or the Mass verse.
Mhm.
Sarah J. Mass, she's the author of ACOTAR, which is the Court of Thorns and Roses, and then Crescent City, and then Throne of Glass. So those are kind of
Yeah.
like the three main universes. That's all she's written, right? As far as I know, or is there more? I feel like there's more.
Yes. I believe that that's as far as the series goes, like what she has out so far. I have heard that she's going to be releasing a fourth series, which I
Ooh,
can't remember the name of right now, but I heard that it's going to like tie everything together. Although I
really?
will say, as I feel like this is spoiler free, but Crescent City does some of that, of tying some things together. So it's,
Okay.
yeah,
I've heard about that. And
yeah,
you know what's crazy? As like I feel like our phones are always listening to us, and
yeah.
I feel like whenever I talk about something, all of a sudden it shows up on Pinterest for me or in my explore section of Instagram. So when
Mhm.
I was reading Akatar, there was all these like AI and like artwork that would pop up. And I saw this one thing when I was reading Akatar and I was like, no, did this just get ruined for me? Like, no, what does this mean? Um, but I'm really excited to, get into Crescent City at some point. I loved Akatar. I feel like Akatar definitely got me into reading. I wasn't really much of a reader before. I mean, spoiler alert, I'm sure that you know. I mean, I love Harry Potter, but I haven't finished reading the books. I know. Like, I stopped in like Goblet of Fire like a couple years ago, meaning to go back to it, and I haven't picked it up again. I mean, obviously, I've seen the movies and stuff, but
Sure.
and I know they're not necessarily the same as the books. Like, there's some things that are like missing. Um,
Mhm.
But anyway, ACOTAR got me into reading. Like, I read those books so quick. Right now, there's 5 books. There should be a 6th book coming at some point,
Yes.
sooner than later. I'm assuming at some point in 2025. Um, but I read those 5 books in, like, I don't know, like a month and a half. It was, like, the quickest I've read a book. They were so good. And then of course, that was, like, the gateway into Throne of Glass.
Mhm.
So, like, today, since this is more of, like, a hangout, we don't have, like, necessarily like something super strict to talk about. It's kind of touching different points at the same
Yeah.
time. But like Church of Glass was really good too. Um, there's different ways to read it. People read it
Yes.
in different ways, different orders. So I just finished the 8th book, which is Kingdom of Ash. I finished it earlier this month, and I feel like after Kingdom of Ash, I kind of needed therapy.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I wasn't going to start Crescent City. I was like, I think I need time to process because I did the ACOTAR series I read a couple of years ago, I think at this point, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then I got my husband to read them. And then he started Throne of Glass before I did because it like sucked him in. So then he
Yeah.
started Throne of Glass and he's like, but I was really for a while I've always been a big reader since I was a kid. I love, love, love to read. But there's so many books in this house, it's not healthy, but I will still get more. But I was on a big like thriller book kick for like a good year. That's like all I was reading was like serial killer stories.
Yeah.
And then Chris was like, I need you to start Throne of Glass. So I did. And it was, again, I'll keep this all spoiler free for at least this first episode, but I totally agree. Like, it still has a hold. I mean, I finished it weeks ago and it still has such a hold on me. And I still like, I'll be on TikTok or Instagram and like a Throne of Glass TikTok or whatever will come up. I'm just crying because it's just such an emotional series. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. But then Chris jumped right into Crescent City and he was like, you have to. And then I started, and again, spoiler free, but like you get into like chapter 5 of the first book,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my dear
So
God, like
already in
it's
chapter
mess.
5, I feel like
Yeah,
these SJM books, they don't
crazy.
start getting really good until like chapter 20. So
Yeah,
chapter 5 then?
Crescent City popped off. Like the first 2 chapters are probably really focused on like character and world building, but by the time I think it's chapter 5. By the time you get to
Mhm.
chapter 5, like it's crazy. I can't say anything else without revealing anything, but it
Yeah.
is crazy. And I just haven't stopped
Okay.
listening since then. And I think I did the first 2 books last week, and I'm on the 3rd book this
Okay.
week.
Oh my gosh. So I need to get into that. So when I finished, yeah, Kingdom of Ash, like I said, I feel like I kind of needed therapy. It was
Oh, yeah.
such the books are still well written. They're great, but this 8th book, like they were just so much. It was just kind of like it was
Yeah,
like an emotionally heavy book. Like,
yeah,
and it's funny because before being a reader, I always thought it was kind of silly when people were like, they're crying over the book. Uh, yes.
yes.
Like, hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Hi.
But I forgot that I had the you see, I haven't streamed in a while, so I forgot that I could do this. And hey, Kenneth, thank you guys for joining us. Um, so going back. So I never really thought that that was like a thing. Like, why are you gonna cry? Well, let me tell you something. When I was reading Agatar, I did cry, reading the 3rd book, because I thought something really bad had happened, and here I am
Mhm.
sitting in my recliner, and I'm like,
Yeah,
that kind of crying, and I'm like, that feels so ridiculous, but this like, what happened? Like, you feel such connection with the characters, so
yeah,
but don't worry, that happened again when I was reading Kingdom of Ash, during like different parts. And yeah, this last book, it definitely like pulled at your heartstrings. There is definitely a lot of parts where I was just like, this is like just pretty rough, you know?
yeah. Oh my god. I mean, I know what you're thinking, and I won't do anything but this, and I can't. I If I think about it long enough, I'll just start crying. It's a mat, and he spends so long. It's 8 books, and they're not short books. They're like
No,
thick
yeah.
books. You spend so long with these characters that you really do become attached to like what's going to happen to them. And oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I know the books were written a while back, but I feel like now they become really popular and I feel like mainly in like our age group, like, mid 30s to mid 40s,
Mhm.
like I feel like it's really popular within our group.
Yeah.
And
I do think there's a correlation between like people our age that like grew up with the Harry Potter books and the movies
yeah.
to the romantasy for the mid 30s, mid 40s woman. Like I think there is a streamline where that all
Yeah.
makes sense, you
It's
know?
kind of like the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. It really
Yeah,
is.
well, thanks for joining us. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm out." Well, going back to that, I feel like, yeah, it's kind of like now it's like the progression of when you were, like, reading Harry Potter when you were younger, and you still like that kind of, like, fantasy, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, category maybe,
Yeah.
but you as an adult, you want a little bit more. So, there you go, there's
Mhm.
SAM for you, but, between ACOTAR and Throne of Glass, like, I love ACOTAR, but I have to agree with you. Um, I have to agree with you, but I feel like Throne of Glass is a much better story. I love my Akatar characters, but I
Yeah.
feel like Throne of Glass it has a lot more. I feel like the way it's written appeals to a wider audience.
Yeah.
Um, that they don't necessarily want to just, focus on like the love story. Throne of
Mhm.
Glass has like a lot of action
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like there's battles and things like that. So I
Yeah.
feel like that one appeals to like a wider audience. And yeah, like I said, this story is just brilliant. There's just so much detail in there. That yeah, I think that those are some really great books. And if they weren't that great, I would not have read them because 8 books is a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a commitment for sure, but, they were incredible. For me, of the 3 SJM series,
Mhm.
I haven't finished Crescent City yet, and I believe that there's gonna be a 4th Crescent City book, if I remember
Okay.
correctly, so there'll be more to come, just like there will be more of ACOTAR. But, Throne of Glass is, like, the supreme, like, it's just so good. ACOTAR, I think, is, like what's really cool for people like you that maybe weren't as into reading, I think ACOTAR got a lot of people into reading,
Yeah.
which then opens up all these worlds, right? So it's just, oh my God, it's so great. And ACOTAR really is so good, but and there are things that are like emotional and there's some weight to it for
Yeah.
sure. But Throne of Glass has that like times 100 or something. Like there's just so much at stake and
Yeah.
so much interesting
Yeah,
backstory.
like, without
It's,
giving anything away, in this
yeah.
last book, Kingdom of Ash, there are these two characters that they found themselves in like a really crappy situation. I mean, they were I guess this is sort of like a spoiler, but not really, unless I mean, no, I think it's a spoiler. So here it goes.
We'll see.
We'll take it. So these two characters find themselves captive, and they develop this communication system, which it's one of those parts that in the book when you read it, you're like, it's just like heartbreaking. Like they
Stop.
couldn't yeah, like they couldn't talk. They could not talk, but they figured out a way to communicate by like blinking.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where as a reader, when like now like you see like, one blink or two blinks or three or four, like And
Hmm.
like four blinks, like, oh my gosh, those four blinks, they mean so much because they break down what they mean.
Yes.
So that's one of the parts that like made a lot of us like cry in the book because it just really tugs at your heartstrings. And
Oh,
like I
yeah.
said, I think they're very easy to read. Like even though they do have a
Yeah.
lot of detail, like there's world obviously world building and things like that. It was so nicely written that I don't know, I loved it. So now, because once I finished that book, because I was definitely feel like I need therapy after that.
Yeah.
Um, and then we'll do some like episodes just strictly to talk about the books so that we can kind of go more in detail and whatnot
Yeah.
and just kind of see what you guys think about the books. So I decided to go into Phantasma, which is what I'm reading right now. I forget the author's name right now, which is horrible. I want to say it's Kaylee Smith, but I
Okay.
forget. So this one is like a really good book. It's another dark romance, but it's like so it takes place in New Orleans,
Okay.
you know.
No.
And there's just like a little bit of everything. Like we have like ghosts and ghouls and phantoms
Mm,
and devils and necromancers. And
okay.
it is so good. Like without giving too much away, like the main character comes from a family of necromancers. And so a family member passes away, and then she like I guess kind of like inherits most of the abilities of the necromancers, and then eventually some things happen that lead her to go into Phantasma, which the way it reads, it's almost like, the real world road rule challenge,
Yeah.
like the seven strangers in a house and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. And there's some like challenges and things you need to do. So that is what Phantasma is.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It's like this like haunted estate where these strangers came together to compete. There's all these challenges. There's 9 challenges, and each level is based on one of the rings of hell. I know it sounds crazy. So each
Sounds
level
awesome.
I know each level is kind of like a sin. So we have one level that was like gluttony, one that was
Mm,
like lust, one that was greed, and there's all these challenges. And obviously, the winner, they get a monetary prize. So, and I think they get a wish. I haven't finished the book just yet. So everybody that's there, they're there because they need money because they need something. So that's why they're
yeah.
in this competition. But within the estate, there's all these other like beings, like I said, there's like ghosts and ghouls and phantoms, and it
Good. I'm gonna have
I
to look for
know
this.
it is so freaking good. And then it tells you like the difference between like a ghoul and like a ghost and like a phantom. I guess a ghoul, the way they explain it, I hate levels of hell. Depending, oh, I have levels of hell. Um, and then um, so like I got this sidetracked, squirrel woman. So oh yeah, so it explains what each one is, and it says that like ghouls are basically ghosts that lingered too long without like
Okay.
being able to pass on to like, the next stage. So they kind of stayed behind and kind of sort of became kind of like zombie-ish, but for
Okay.
like a ghost. So like that's kind of like a ghoul. They're still around, but they're not like all there. They're kind of crazy, like a zombie.
Okay.
So it kind of
Yeah.
explains that. But yeah, and then their main character, oh my gosh, the love interest. Sorry, I had to mute
Ooh,
myself.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite, like, romantasy love story, like, trope, like friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, strangers to lovers? Like, do you have a favorite?
Okay. So I love the whole enemies to lovers. Like, I mean, you can definitely see that in like obviously Agatar and even Throne of Glass because
Yes.
some of the biggest like love stories came from like characters that hated each other, that
Mhm.
despised each other.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's kind of like my favorite, like from enemies to lovers, because it's just such like a drastic like turn of events. It's such
Yeah.
a 180, and it's just like I
Mhm.
like it. It's because like
Yeah.
all this like emotion and this energy that was put into like just being like nasty to each other, all of a sudden we care about each other with the same
Mhm.
intensity that we would like kill for the other
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
So what about you? I'm assuming that you're probably on like a similar train of thought,
So
maybe?
I am. I do love to read enemies to lovers. I feel like most of the stories that I read wind up being in that trope. But I'm also a big fan of like friends to lovers because I relate to it. My husband and I were friends for 6 or 7 years before we went friends to lovers. So I do love that trope as well. But I feel like I read more enemies to lovers than friends to lovers. But
Yeah,
I like both. But enemies to
yeah.
lovers is fun because I love that whole like, you know, they're butting heads, they're fighting with each other, but then like some third party messes with one and the other one is really protective. And then they realize, like, I love that. I love that stuff.
I love that too. It's like it's that intensity where like
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it's like with that same intensity that I used to hate you, I am going to protect you like so fiercely. I feel like it comes with
Yeah.
like a fierceness that is just
Yeah.
so like so
Passionate.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Really, I feel like that trope is exactly that. I feel like yeah. There you
Yeah.
go. I agree
There's
with
that,
you.
yes. There's that quote that's like the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. Like hate and love can share a fine line where and there's that passion versus like, indifference is you just don't give a hoot about anything or that person.
Yeah, like
Right. Yeah, I'm down with the enemies to lovers for sure.
yeah, no, absolutely. Like I think that's pretty awesome. I think some of my favorite like characters in the books are just like that. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm going through like all the different relationships in Akatar and Throne of Glass, and most of them didn't really like each other. Think about it.
Yeah, I can't think of any of them that did, honestly. Like even in like I know you haven't read Fourth Wing yet, but that's more of an definitely enemies to lovers. Even, Throne of Glass, I think all of them are enemies to lovers. I guess one pairing could be considered more like strangers to lovers, but I think they're all enemies to lovers in Throne of Glass.
Yeah. And by the way, Jody and Laura, thank you for being in the chat. Laura, for a second, I was not sure who JL was, and I'm like, oh, okay. Oh my gosh, so these are my friends, Jody and Laura. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here. As soon as I
No,
saw this, I'm like, what is going on? I mean, no judgment. Hey, listen, it's a judgment-free zone. Oh,
for
that's too
sure.
funny. You see, and now I got distracted. When I saw they met my husband in prison, I was like, "Hey, well that's cool." Oh my goodness. Um, but I'm so happy to have you guys here. But anyway, going back to that, yeah, I think there's so many different tropes that people like, but I think definitely that one, from enemies to friends, yeah,
Yeah,
really.
he dropped the soap.
Um, yeah, I've been trying to get Laura to read Akatar,
Do it.
but I think that she's gonna start with Phantasma, which I had already talked to her
Oh,
about
okay.
that. Phantasma is so good. Hold on. Oh, I just got like a thing in the on YouTube to approve this message. Oh my goodness. But yes. So there's so many there's so many good books out there. But yeah, I definitely want to finish Phantasma. I like the main character to me right now is just as to me it's just as like intriguing as Rhysand from Agatar or Rowan from Son of
Okay.
Glass. So and it's a small book. Like I started reading it, I don't know, the 17th of November. I'm almost done with it. And I also, work and do stuff in between. So
Sure.
I don't get to read it like, continuously.
Yeah.
But I'm almost done with it. And I think there's a second book to that. So I do want to read that. And then after that, I think I might go into Crescent City. Although I heard Quicksilver is really good.
I've heard good
So
things about that as well. So I have for my TBR, there's so much on my TBR. But so my friend Laura and we oftentimes like plan to read the same series at the same time. Like she did Throne of Glass and finished it maybe a couple weeks before I did. And then she went into Zodiac Academy, which
okay.
I haven't done yet, but
I've heard about that too.
she said it's really good. It's sort of maybe more like YA
Okay.
ish, but still really enjoyable. So I promised her I would read that after Crescent City. But Chris has now started another series on his own called, I think the first book at least is called White Tower. I have no idea what it's about. I think it's
Okay.
like romantasy. But he said it's really good. So I have to put that on my list because now since he reads all the books that I like, I'm going to try to read the books that he likes too. Because that's like our new love language is just reading each other's books. But
That's cute.
yeah. So those are my like two for sure TBR, but I also just wrote on a post-it Phantasma because you made it sound very good. So I'm
It
gonna
is
add
really
that to
freaking
the
good.
list too.
Like I said, like I don't want to give it away, but this main character, like, OMG, like, okay. So you're gonna read it quick because I know you're a quick reader.
Yes.
So you gotta tell me what you think. Like I got it from my Kindle app, and that's where I've been reading it. It's funny though because tell me if you're like me, but like I have some books that I got as physical books, but I ended up also getting them for the Kindle app. So I have them twice.
So I don't do Kindle or reading on my phone at all. I think I had a Kindle like years and years ago when we were still living in Georgia, and I very rarely used it. I love a physical book, but I will do audiobooks.
Oh, that's what I need to do
Especially now
that.
that I'm working from home, if I like breaks in between sessions, I'll just like put the book on for a while. And it's also great because I love my husband, but he goes to sleep at like 8 o'clock. So I'll be in bed with headphones on
Oh,
because
that's so
I don't want to
cute.
have the light on or anything. So I listen to the books. So I do either physical books or audiobooks. I'm not a Kindle person, but no judgment for those that are. It's just I prefer if I'm reading. I love the feel of the page.
Yeah, you know what I do, which a lot of people find like sacrilegious? I underline my books and I highlight my books
Yeah.
and I write on my books. So when I tell people that, they're like, "What?" That's
I've
just
seen a lot of people do that, like the tabbing, the highlighting, and all that. I've never been one to do that, but I don't have anything against it.
yeah, like I do it because I feel like I was a pretty good like student and that was my way of kind of like studying and remembering things. So I would highlight in the books, I would make notes. So whenever would have to like study for like a test or something, I had already marked the things that were important or that stood out to me and I would make notes
Mhm.
and it was just easy. So I think it's because of that kind of mindset that I do that with the books. I feel like it helps me remember things.
Yeah.
So I have all the physical books for Akatar. I have some of the books for Throne of Glass on like actual books, and then the rest I just have them on the Kindle. But if you look at my Kindle app, I highlight a lot. and you
Yeah.
can highlight in different colors. So I use like the yellow and blue and pink, and they all mean different things to me. Like yellow
Yeah.
is like important stuff, and blue is like super important stuff, and pink is like super, super, super important stuff. I'm not saying that I
Good.
highlight everything on the page, but I do highlight a lot. And like I said, I feel like it helps me just kind of retain some of that information and
Yeah.
process it a little bit better. So that's why I do that. But yeah, I ended up getting the books also on my Kindle app because if I want to read at work, like on my lunch break or something, um, that way, and I don't have the book with me, I can just read on my phone.
Yeah.
And also at night, like I bought this nightlight to put on my
Me
physical
too.
book. But then I just felt like I just had this spotlight on the bed. And if I move a certain way, then I'm just shining the light on everything.
Yeah.
And,
Now, is
and
this
all of a
one that
sudden,
attaches to the book?
yeah, it attaches and it actually has two lights. So you can kind of like position them like either together or separately for each side. But I
So I
feel
had
like,
that too,
do
and I will just
you?
say I got one and I didn't love it, and then I got one that goes around your neck, and the arms are, like, bendable, adjustable, and will stay wherever you put them, so,
Oh,
like, you're
okay.
holding the book and the light is kinda coming from you instead of over onto the
Oh,
book,
I like
and I
that.
prefer
Okay.
that for sure, and it wasn't expensive. I got it on Amazon, not that Jeffrey Bezos
Yeah.
needs the money, but
Yeah, I got mine on Amazon too, but you see, I felt like having the light, if I move a certain way, all of a sudden I'm shining the spotlight on Luna, and now Luna's awake, you
yeah.
know? So it's kind of like, and for those that don't know, Luna is my crazy dog that wakes me up every single night. Thank you very much, Luna. So
She's so
so
sweet, though, and she shares her toys.
she does with people.
Yes.
Not with her doggy sibling, but with people. Like
Yeah,
when
she's
people
so
come
sweet.
over, she's like, "Here, I want to share
Mhm.
with you." And she'll shove the toy in your face.
I love it.
Um, but yeah, and Laura agrees. She's like, "I prefer a book. Um, Amazon is my best friend." Mine too. I order so much from Amazon. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Like, but it's just so convenient, and all
it
the books
is.
are there, and the tarot cards and the oracle cards are there too.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, going back to that, I do both. Obviously the book and the Kindle app. It's just for me, it's convenient. And
Yeah,
then at night I can just read on my phone and highlight, and I have everything there. So so
that
that's
makes
that. So
sense.
yeah.
And honestly, like, thinking to myself, even though I've never done it before, there's so many times that I've been reading and, like, a certain chapter or a certain section of a chapter, like, make an impact on me,
Hmm.
but, like, then, like, 3 months later, I don't really remember it, but if I had highlighted it, I could find it so much easier, but I didn't, so I may never find it unless I just reread the whole book. So I can definitely see the value in highlighting, for sure.
Yeah, like it's funny though because when I was reading the actual books from Akatar, so I had a pen at one point, not just a highlighter, and I'm like underlighting, and I'm like putting hearts in the book,
Oh,
and I'm like writing like yay, like with
oh,
certain
I love
stuff.
that.
It's like yeah,
That's
it's
so
like
cute.
it's almost like a kid's like I don't know notebook with all the little
Yeah.
doodles and stuff. But I didn't put really doodles in my book, but just like
Mhm.
little notes. Like there's some like really iconic lines in Akatar, and then in moments that when I found that I had to highlight it. Actually,
Yeah.
one of my friends got married earlier this year, and thanks, Laura. So and then she put a line from Akatar as one of her wedding vows. And it
Aw.
was so cool. She told me she was gonna do that. And then at the wedding, she's saying her wedding vows, and I forget the line exactly. It was I want to say Farah said this to Resund. It was something about like I see you, like I see all of you, and there's not a part of you that I don't love. Something
Mhm.
along those lines.
Yeah.
Um, and when she said that during the wedding, she was reading her vows to her now husband. I'm like,
Mhm.
like, oh my God, this is just like, it's just so like magical.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
books are definitely, there's just so much to talk about, and they have now become a part of my life.
Oh, 100%. And I'm a tattoo person. I have quite a few, and I want so many tattoos from these book series. Like, So many. I'm gonna just look like a book at some point because
See,
I want so many tattoos based on these books.
if
It's
I
insane.
wasn't such a chicken, I would get some too because I mean, I will love
You could get some
The
like
Sarah
corresponding
tattoo.
matching tattoos.
I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I don't know. I'm definitely a chicken for pain, so we'll see. And yes, Laura was sitting next to me at the wedding. It was our friend that was getting married.
Hmm.
And then Laura started getting tattoos too. She's like fellow tattoo person.
Yes.
It's just like I said, I'm just such a chicken when it comes to pain. Melissa
There's
man
certain
up.
spots that really aren't that bad. Like both of my like forearm tattoos, I fell asleep during.
Yeah,
Like my feet, I won't lie. The one that has the big feather on it,
yeah.
that hurt like
Hurt.
a son of a bee, like 30 minutes in. I was like, when is this gonna be over? But the paw prints that are on my other foot weren't bad because they were quicker. But like the foot was really sensitive. But like my chest, my like inner ankles, the back of my leg, the both arms like were like nothing. It wasn't bad at all.
We'll
Just
see.
saying. There's some spots that are really relatively painless.
We'll see. We'll have to continue, the tattoo conversation later
Yes.
on and see if I actually do that. Well,
Especially if it's a
hello,
little one.
Tales Told in the Dark. Welcome.
Ooh.
I
Sounds
know.
like our kind of book.
It's funny that you said that because what I was gonna say as we're talking about the romantasy books, and the dark romances and whatever,
Yeah.
I'm like, these books are what are basically inspiring all these like shadow daddies on like the reels. I mean, I only do
Yes.
Instagram and Facebook. I don't do TikToks, but I've heard they're
Oh,
huge
it's
on
all over
TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah, like all the shadow daddies. Like what's
Mhm.
funny now that even the Death Eaters are getting their shadow daddy moments.
It's unbelievable. I'm more so on TikTok than I am on Reels, like, if I'm scrolling through videos, and
Mhm.
like 2 days ago, I was on TikTok, and it was like every video was like sexy Death Eaters at Universal Studios. It's like, Chris, we need to go to Florida as soon as possible.
I
It's like,
know,
what?
like, you see all these, like, shadow daddies and the things that the girls are like and some of the guys, they're going gaga with the shadow daddies, like,
Oh,
this is this is how the Death Eaters now became a thing. Like,
yeah.
before it was like, "Oh, Death Eaters," like, whatever, and now it's like it was like, "Ooh, Death Eater?"
Death Eater. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
but it's because of
definitely
these books.
unlocked some, I think kinks for people of like mask play and all of that stuff. Like people are going wild. But I mean, I also think that's great and beautiful and healthy and explore, have fun. You only live once, do your thing.
You know
Um,
what's funny too? Now, see, I get all this like romantasy stuff on my explore section, and obviously the shadow daddies and like the
yeah,
death
yeah,
eater daddies and all kinds of daddies and whatever.
oh, yeah.
Um, but you know what I've seen? Like a lot of like motorcycle guys too. Like, what is up with that? Is there a book
Yes.
about this?
There
Because
definitely are spicy biker books.
yeah,
So
I
the
would
main one
assume so.
with what?
I said I would assume so, but it just like
Oh yeah.
yeah, like it's like
There's
what?
some sort of crossover with book talk and biker talk that happens, and because I'm heavily on book talk, I've started getting a lot of mask talk, biker talk, Death Eater, like all of those videos are coming in because the book talk crowd likes them so much, so the algorithm is feeding them to me,
Yeah.
which is also how I got really into Sleep Token because all of their songs are like
We were
on the
just
mask
talking
talk,
about
biker
that,
talk
yeah.
stuff. Um, no, I mean, hey, people are having a good time for
I
sure.
I know, Laura loves the podcast even more, she just said
Oh,
that.
good.
So, I mean,
I
it's
could
true,
talk
so
about this all day.
yeah, so you see, in upcoming episodes, we'll just pick a book and just kinda go over the book and stuff. I don't know if you're gonna start with Agatar or Third of Glass, or maybe if Carissa, if you read Phantasma soon. Maybe we can start with that one. It's a
Yeah.
pretty short book. Like, so I'm almost done with that one, and I think that that will be like a great book to start with, considering it has so much of like the spooky, like so the fan house and
Yeah.
all that. I feel like that will
Yes.
be like a really good one based in New
Yeah, for
Orleans.
sure. I'm probably
Um,
gonna finish Crescent City in the next, like, 2 days, I would imagine. So I can do Phantasma real quick. And did you say there's 2 books?
I think there's 2 books. I'm gonna double check. I feel like there's
Okay.
a second book. I feel like I saw something about that. Um, yes, Laura, you do need to read it. I said it's quick. It's definitely not as long as any of the ACOTAR books. Um, I wanna say it had like 400 pages on the Kindle app, so I don't know, it might be about the same or less on actual paper, but so good. So yeah, we can definitely do that and just talk about all this stuff once we're actually reviewing
Yeah.
Phantasma. You know what's funny? I told you this hour is gonna go by quick. We're already
Yeah.
45 minutes in.
Oh, wow.
Um, I know, but before we kind of like, I mean, we can definitely keep on talking about books and
Sure.
romantically and all that stuff. Um, I was gonna say, do you want to talk a little bit about like some of the other, well, going back to some of our other loves too, which are like crystals and stuff like that.
Sure.
So obviously, because we have a little bit of that mixed in with like a little podcast, and we can definitely go back to Shadow Daddies after that. Um, so do you have like a favorite crystal? Like I know that like you also collect crystals like I do, and
I
then you
sure
like them for their metaphysical properties and like energy and manifesting and all that stuff. But do you have like a favorite crystal
I
by any chance?
It's hard to say if I have, like, one favorite. I know for a long time, I was very drawn to, like, howlites because it can be helpful with, like, anxiety and grief, and those are things that I'm always dealing with. I am a big fan of ocean jasper. I did get a nice big one at I'm in my office, so I don't have as many crystals in here. There's tons more elsewhere, but I just loved this one. Um,
That was
and I
really
know
pretty. It's
one
a
of your
nice size too.
favorites, this always makes me think of you, rainbow fluorite. It's
I
one of
love
Mel's
fluorite.
fave.
Yeah.
And Mel, I will say, the first time we met, we went to
Oh, the
that store in
yes,
Smithville, Indigo Soul, I
yes,
think
yes,
is
yes,
what it's
yes.
called.
Yeah. Mhm.
And um, Mel was like, some of these crystal prices are a little excessive. And I was like, and I was kind of new to the crystal game. So I was like, oh, are they? And then she told me about shout out Moon Mountain Gems. And that is the only place I will get crystals from now because their prices
Oh,
are amazing. The quality is incredible. I did get this one at like a vendor event, but it was like $20
it's not bad.
for a decent size.
That's not bad at all.
Um, yeah. But God, I think howlite I was drawn to for a long time. I guess I would say howlite is one of my favorite. I love a good old smoky quartz.
Oh, yeah.
I love to have it just capture my negativity and keep it over there. So I'm a big fan of that. What about
Yeah.
you? I know rainbow fluorite's one for you.
Well, I definitely love moss agate. I would say
Yeah,
probably that's
yeah.
probably my favorite. I also love obviously fluorite, but I think moss agate is probably my favorite. And they're actually Moon Mountain Gems is live right now on Instagram. They have a
I
40%
saw.
off sale. Listen, girl, they were live last night too. They had their amethyst sale last night, and I think they're gonna have some
Yes,
leftover today. So after our stream, I think I'm gonna go there and take a look and see what they have.
I'll probably
Um,
see you there.
I did get 2 pieces last night. I got a base cut,
Mm,
purple amethyst and a base cut black amethyst. So
nice.
I know, so excited to
Uh,
see them. But today should be
they have
everything
the
is like
best stuff.
I know. Today is like 40% off. It's gonna be kinda
Mm,
like their Black Friday
yeah,
sale tonight. So I'm gonna take a
cool.
look and see if there's anything cool. Oh, and then Jody. So Jody's Laura's husband. I have a tiger's eye on my desk. Tiger's eye is
Nice.
beautiful. I love tiger's eye too, but I would say moss agate is probably my favorite. Um, and I there's a lot that I like. And I feel like
I
it
love flower
really
agate. I have a lot of flower agate.
Yeah, flower outlet ski. You know what? I've been really drawn to like carnelian lately too, and I really like azurite. Um, and of course, black tourmaline. I feel like black tourmaline is kind
Mhm.
of like the bodyguard when it comes to crystals. And then, selenite is always good to have. So like
Yes.
when you first come into my house, I think I've shown you like on my console table when you first come in, I have a big chunk of black tourmaline and a
Mhm.
chunk like this big of selenite, and they're like right next to each other. I feel like they serve as like a filter when you come into the house to like cleanse and also repel and just kind of like so I
Yeah.
have those 2 big pieces when you first come in. But yeah,
Yes.
Moonlight yeah, you're right. Moonlight and Gems, I mean, I don't have any kind of affiliation with them.
They're
I
just
don't get
amazing.
like a kickback or anything from
Yeah.
that, but they do have great deals. So that's why I feel like I'm so spoiled. So when we go to like a place that sells crystals, I'm like, no, no thanks.
Yeah.
I'm
Mel
good.
showed me the light.
Yeah, because before, just like you said, I was like, "Oh my," because crystals can be expensive. Um, but we talked about this, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Home Goods also has some
Yes.
crystals, and they're pretty inexpensive because they
Yeah.
sell them as home decor. So you can find some big pieces. They're mainly like raw, unpolished pieces,
Mhm.
but they're big sizes and they're pretty
Yeah.
inexpensive. Like I have a huge selenite like this big, and I got it for like 25 bucks.
Yeah.
So that's a
When
great
I'm
deal.
like when I'm feeling sad or had a bad day, Chris will take me crystal hunting at Home Goods to cheer me up. It's my
Have you
favorite thing
got
because
it
they have
though?
it, like, randomly around the store. I did. I don't have it with me. I'll bring it in so I could show you next time. Just a couple weeks ago, we went, and I found this really beautiful agate piece that had kind of how I keep grabbing this, kind of how this has,
Let's
like,
see, I'm gonna
the
put you full screen so we can see it better. Here we go.
so how this has, like, the cutout, which I
Oh,
know
like a
isn't the
little,
right
almost like a
word.
little cave opening or
Yeah.
something. A little cave in there, right?
So the piece from Home Goods that I got is probably it's sort of triangular. It's probably about this big,
Okay.
and it's perfect colors for like we. It's probably doesn't sound good when I say this, but it's like green. Our walls are green, and then we have like orange as an accent color, but it's like sage green and like a rusty orange, and it works. It looks nice. And the agate piece that we found like went perfectly with our living room. So does this kind of, but I put this in the office because I have an orange accent wall in here too that you can't see. But anyway, yeah, Home Goods is great for crystals.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I got this huge like amethyst. It was like this big. It was like 40 bucks. But like
That's
big.
amazing.
And even though Moon Mountain Gems has pretty good deals, I feel like some of the pieces were a little overpriced last night, just only compared to that, only because that piece from Home Goods was like really, really good.
Yeah.
Hold on, here we go. That is my favorite type of crystal. Which one, Laura? The cheap
Yeah. Which
ones?
one?
Are we talking about like big, chunky, cheap pieces? Or are you talking about like amethyst or flower agate? I want to know.
Yeah.
And then, kind of still on this sort of kind of witchy like topic. So are you more of like an oracle girl or tarot card girl or both?
I would say it's it's hard for me to choose. I feel like lately I've been more of a tarot girl, but I've had periods where I've leaned more oracle deck. I like both. I love the deck that we have in common that I can't think of right now.
Oh, my favorite, the This
Yes,
Might Hurt. This Might Hurt
yes,
tarot. I
I love
love
that deck.
that.
But I was showing Mel earlier in my office, which is where I am. Um, I always have with me, I have a self-care deck, which will have like an affirmation and activity on the back. And then another like self-care deck. This one's from Goddess Provisions, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I pull a card every day when I start my day. So like those are the ones that I use most consistently. Sort of like self-care. I think probably because I'm a therapist and stuff, I really lean into the self-care side of witchiness, being
Yeah.
mindful and taking time for yourself and being purposeful with your intentions. Like I really resonate with that. But I do love me some tarot. I really do. I have too many decks, but I can't stop.
Yeah, you see, when I first started like my little witchy journey like 2 years ago, which is funny because Laura and I are on like that same journey, like
Yeah.
together too. So like
Mhm.
I always felt like tarot seemed like a little intimidating,
Mhm.
like it's almost like you have Oracle and tarot. So Oracle will kind of like hold your hand and be like, okay, well, sugarcoat something for you. And tarot's like,
Mhm.
boom, in your face, take it or leave it. You know?
Yeah.
So it's so to me it felt a little intimidating because that's just kind of
Mhm.
like how it's typically portrayed. But I feel like I like tarot better because it is more straightforward. Like, it's more of, like, a clearer way to get a message than I mean, in the end, I feel like it all comes down to, like, intuition and how you read it and how you
Mhm.
perceive it, but I think that if I am looking for some clarification or something, I would probably prefer tarot, over oracle, although in the mornings I have, like, this daily routine where I pull a tarot card and an oracle card every day, just to kinda give me my message for today.
Yeah.
And I typically pull one from the This Might Hurt tarot deck, which I love, which you love
That's a
too.
good one. Yes, I
It's
do.
such a good one. Like, the
Yeah.
illustrations like, side note, the illustrations on it are so good for each card.
Mhm.
Um so I pull one and then I pull an oracle card from the Talisman Oracle, which I absolutely love it. I got it from Amazon. And the Talisman Oracle has like a sigil on each card too. So if you want to
Oh,
work with
cool.
like a specific sigil for from that specific card, like you can work with it later. But anyway, so I feel like when I pull them together for today, they kind of complement each other. And sometimes like I can kind of like if I forget what I even pulled today. I think I pulled the 10 of wands this morning, which has to
Okay.
do with like it's a lot on my plate, a lot to do. Like doing a
Yeah.
lot. That's like a 10 of wands. Um
Yeah.
like we're doing a lot. It's a lot on your
Yeah.
plate. You're biting more than you can chew, kind of thing, maybe.
Mhm.
But then again, my, oracle pool was, like, passion, almost like, put your passion in what you're doing, like, if you like it, go for it. Just kind of like it's almost like you might be doing a lot, but if you enjoy it, then, like, go for
Yeah.
it, like, just live it up.
Yeah. Can see how that
So
relates to this because to
yeah.
be fair, Mel is experienced with streaming and YouTube and Spotify, and I am not. So my contribution is just being here and chatting. Mel has done all of the hard parts. So
Listen,
I
I
know
am
she
no
had a lot
expert.
more on her plate than I did.
I'm no expert, but um, but that's what I mean. Like you can kind of like use them both. But yeah, just like Laura too, I feel like I'm more of like a tarot person just
Yeah.
because you get the message a little bit more. Because each oracle deck, each artist is different. So I don't
Mhm.
know, but I like the combination of those two. Um, Laura says, I love crystals with inclusions. And Amazon
Yeah.
again, yay. Yes. um, but yeah, absolutely. I think that that was like one of those things like Tarot and Oracle, I feel like they're always kind of like people. And also I hear a lot, people are like, oh, like it's bad luck to buy your own deck. I don't personally think so. I buy
I've
myself decks all
heard
the
that,
time.
like, you shouldn't buy your own first deck. It should be gifted, but, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's if you feel that way, that's cool, but if you don't resonate with that, then don't worry about it, I think. Like,
Yeah, I personally think, and I'm no expert, I think there's nothing wrong with buying your own deck. If
yeah.
anything, if a deck calls to you, then then that was supposed to be the deck. Then you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I don't think there's anything
Yeah.
weird with that. But that's funny. So like I wear these like charms every day, pretty much. So this one right here, Laura actually got for me. It's supposed to be the Cornuchello, or the devil's horn. Mm, well, anyway, it's supposed to be the Italian horn. Oh, there you go. Oh my God, there was one. The Italian horn. So, well, I'm sure you've seen it too, Chris, because your family is Italian, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, we're Sicilian.
So it's supposed to be for like a luck and protection. And from what I had read, this you're not supposed to buy your own. Like someone is supposed to gift it to you.
Yeah.
So Laura and I gifted each other the cornuchellos. So this is the one that she got me, and then I got her one, but hers is like gold in color. Um, So it kind of goes back to just really like same thing. It's kind of like the value that you put into it and whatever. So in that, but in
Mhm.
this sense, we did buy each other's like pendant. But
Yeah.
going back to the cards, I think that it doesn't matter. Just like when a crystal calls to you, like that crystal calls to you for a reason. So I don't think there's anything wrong with buying your own deck.
Nah.
Um, yeah. But with that said, Carissa, do you have anything else you want to talk about? Anything that you're looking forward to doing on the podcast? Because our hour is coming up to like an end. Because again, this
Yeah.
is more of like a hangout, kind of like
Yeah.
just kind of get back into streaming and then just kind of
Mhm.
just kind of give you guys an idea of what the podcast
Yeah.
would be like once we have some set topics for each stream. But anything else that you want to add, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm looking forward to doing deeper dives into some of these books and series, especially once we get feedback from people that are watching or listening, how you feel about us talking openly about these books and series, the potential for spoilers for people that haven't read them yet, let us know because we're dying to talk about stuff, but we will respect what the people want. But mostly, I think I'm just excited to get to spend more time with you in this way too, because while we live somewhat close together, we don't live close enough to see each other like every week.
Hmm.
And with life being what it is, we usually see each other every few months.
I know.
So I'm excited to get to just hang out and talk with you more.
I know, me too. Listen, I mean, that's like a big part of this because you're
Yeah,
so right. Even though we both live in New Jersey, we don't really live super close where we can see each other every weekend.
yeah,
So this is nice because we do get to like spend some time together
yeah,
and look into each other's eyes. Just kidding.
yes.
And then just have fun because we're still talking about these things like privately. Like we'll text about these things. We'll DM each other on Instagram about like reels that we see while we're reading, crystals we're getting, all that good stuff. Oh no, Corey, I think you're frozen. Did you freeze? Okay, no, good.
Oh,
And
did I
so
Okay.
Laura's asking where, so you're more towards like centralish Jersey, right?
I'm in Manahawkin, so I'm across the bridge from LBI, if that helps at all. Ocean County,
Yeah.
like 20, 30 minutes south from Tom's River, which, by the way, young lady, I saw that you were in Tom's River this week, and I was like, that's pretty close to me.
Girl, I was there for work. And you know that
Yeah, I figured.
I hate driving, like, with a
Yeah,
passion. Like, I have really bad driving anxiety, you guys. So,
yeah.
luckily, some of my coworkers adopted me, so I went with them to
Okay.
Toms River. Um, so yeah, Laura and Jody are from New Jersey also.
Oh, cool.
It looks like said that they know that area. And Jody says, "Nice job on episode 1." Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, so I mean, just kind of piggybacking off what you said, so we can kind of wrap up. I agree with you. Like this is for me. This is like a great time to spend time with you, and then just kind of
Yeah,
share conversations with like-minded people, and whoever wants to hop on and talk about similar things. I mean, more than welcome to. We plan on having guests later on the channel. Um, I am we're planning on having this person who is already a published author. I just need to talk to her about it first, just to make sure that
yeah,
we can coordinate something with her.
right.
And then we have so many ideas, and being that we want this to be just like a bit of a hangout, bookish,
Mhm.
witchy, nerdy. So we are even thinking about maybe perhaps reaching out to some cosplayers because there's a lot of really talented cosplayers
Yeah,
that are huge in the bookish community. So maybe we can get someone to
yeah,
join and talk about what they do and like the books too. But that's kind of like what we have in mind. We have a lot of different ideas, and again, we're gonna pick a book for different episodes just to kind of do deep dives and reviews, and you'll know ahead of time because we'll schedule it, so you'll be able to see when these episodes come, so that way if you want to discuss a certain book or whatever we're going to do, you're ready. And then talk about crystals, and then the wheel of the year, so the different like witchy kind of like holidays or Sabbaths, like Yule is coming up in December,
Mhm.
so we want to talk about that as well. Maybe like our year-end rituals and things like
Yeah,
that. So we have a lot of things in mind. So we are very excited.
yeah.
Um, and Laura says, love this girlies.
Oh, I'm so
Oh,
glad.
fun. Yeah. And then, so the plan is to, bring this to Spotify. We're starting here. It's already a platform that we already have set up.
Right.
So but it should be going to Spotify hopefully soon. And then, yeah, we'll bring more stuff to you guys. What I'm gonna do is let me see if I can. Um, I will probably just pin the comments later on the stream or add them to the description, so you can have both of our Instagrams. So if you want to contact us, you can. If you have any ideas, but I mean, other than that, I think this was a great first episode. I enjoyed it,
Yeah.
Carissa. So it's great to see
Well, I had a
you.
great time chatting with you as always.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to everybody that has joined in to say hello, to like listen, to watch. If you're watching the replay, thank you for that. So we hope you guys have a great weekend, a great holiday. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And we'll see you again sometime soon.
Yes. See you guys soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.